We are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Isle of series. I don't know if any of you have noticed, but I'm currently outside. No, I'm kidding. We finally got the green screen set up, and it looks amazing. Just for reference, the picture behind me is a real picture taken from our guest tonight, and he was very kind to send it over to us so that I could steal and put it behind me. So thanks. So welcome to Isle of Islands, where there is no real theme tonight. I mean, we have a direction. There is a point, but if we wind up jumping to something like cartoons, we will. So without further ado, I would like to welcome onto the show our guest, JP.
Hey!
Hi!
Hey, everyone! What's going on? So, yeah, I can't believe you guys already got to the bottom of the barrel, but like you did. So, for guests, I thought you could have stayed higher in the barrel for a while.
Stop it. We're excited to have you on.
Super excited.
So,
I am excited to be here. So, looking forward to this.
All right.
Well, thank you for being on. We're honored. We are always so honored that you guys will come on to our little show. Thank you.
Yeah, because we're new and it's little and yeah, and I'm just really awkward in general. So, I mean, thank you for putting up with me as your host. Okay.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You're great. You do great every time. So,
maybe. So, all right. So, starting it off, I would like to ask you your first question, and that is blunt and simple. What do you do for work?
What do I do for a living? I am a aquatic scientist for the Missouri Department of Conservation. My focus is on rivers and streams, mostly like physical habitat, fish, mussels, like the things that live in the river and the actual habitat and hydrology of the river. So, yeah, that's basically it. I'm in our research division. We actually have a research division in our agency that focuses on trying to answer questions. And so shocking to anyone who's watched my channel and sees all the numbers and research and stuff I do. Yeah, that's what I do every day. So that's part of it. Just doing research, looking things up, pulling numbers together. That's just part of my job. So
And answering questions must come very easily for you.
Well, I don't know about that. I do have a little plaque on my door that's a quote from Einstein. It says, if we knew what we were doing, we wouldn't call it research. So that's just, so there you go. So, but we figure it out most of the time. We figure it out.
So you listed off all the little things that you guys do on top of all the research that you do in a given day. What does a normal day look like for you then?
It varies a lot. I mean, the most average day is I spend in the office doing conference calls, meeting with people, working through stuff that I've collected. But the fun part, getting out in the field, it varies a lot depending on projects. We have projects that come and go. Usually I have to propose a project, a question or something, how we're going to go about it. And we'll get 3 to 5 year projects, something like that, and then we'll move forward. But the current project that I've been working on has been a lot of fish sampling and that kind of stuff. We were doing some fish community work below a hydropower facility, trying to document baseline fish community before the relicensing process for that hydropower facility came up. And so it would literally be, we would drive to the river, get the boat ready. We electrofishing boat that we would use to shock and sample fish. We would do a number of runs throughout. We usually have this river, because of its size, our sites were 2,000 meters. And we would do multiple electrofishing runs, work up ID fish, measure them, throw them back. We also would seine and put out some nets to get different species because different techniques work better. And then we come back to the office. So that was one project. There's been lots of other stuff.
What was the end goal? Tracking all the different fish and tagging them. Was it like a migration pattern? Was it
different goals for different aspects. So we had a fish community effort that we have actually just wrapped up, and the goal for that was to document what the community existed of upstream of the lake, downstream of the lake, and they have a bypass at this particular system where they direct water away from the river for a while. And then, so trying to get a feel for what the community was, how it changed related to the dam. We also did this river does have migratory spawning fish, walleye and some other fish that come up in the spring. We did tag some of those to try to identify what riffles they were using, what habitat was best for them trying to spawn, that kind of thing down below the dam. Were they actually getting all the way to the dam, and was it acting as a barrier, that kind of stuff. So it varies depending on, like, we usually have multiple goals. It just kind of depends.
Well, that's cool. Well, and I mean, using the fish as an example, that does make sense because the dam could be useful, and it could also be very kind of a block as far as the wildlife is concerned. So there you go.
Yeah.
And the projects seriously last 3 to 5 years. It
depends. Like I had when I first started. Like the very first project I worked on when I started was actually a bank stabilization project. And that was probably a 6 or 7 year project. It was a little longer because we wanted to track how you want to have enough flow, actually hit those projects. You want to track it for a little longer. I did a project on a couple of rivers looking at freshwater mussel communities and habitat and flow. And that was a 3-4 year project. And then I've had some smaller projects that would be like 1 to 2 years. This current FERC relicensing thing we've been working on for 3 years in the lead up. The licensing process started in 2019, and that's a 5-year process. So this is actually going to be working on parts of this for about 8 years, off and on. But I work on, I don't have a project. I do lots of different things.
Why does it take 8 years? I mean, why? Yeah. Where does the 8-year span come from, and how do you fill that amount of time?
So, when you're doing this kind of stuff, like there's so much variation year to year depending on weather patterns, flow, how much rain we got that year, was it a dry year, a wet year, that you get variation in your data. So the more samples, more seasons, more years that you can get data, it gives you a better picture of what's really going on. Was it just a drought year and that's why you didn't do very well? The fish community looked bad, but they bounced right back because you got out of the drought year and it really wasn't that bad. Was it a flood year and you couldn't get out and get any information? So working on rivers is, we like to make a joke. The lady that works with me, Christina, who works as our technician, is our jack of all trades, taking care of equipment and boats and everything else. Her and I make a joke that we put stuff on the calendar just so Mother Nature can laugh at us. So it's because it's literally we will schedule something and it is a 100% guarantee Mother Nature will go, oh, I'm going to rain that day and the river's going to be up and you're not doing nothing. So, so that's part of why it takes time. The other thing is with the FERC thing is we wanted to get multiple years of data before the process started. There is a research process within the FERC timeline, but we wanted to have information beforehand, so we were informed to know what questions we really wanted to ask of the power company in terms of trying to get answers to make better solutions. So that's why there was a lead in, and then there's this 5-year process, which a lot of that is the FERC negotiations. We won't necessarily do research through all of that. So.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why
So-
sometimes it takes longer.
And I mean, I guess, and it does make sense when you think about it, because you can end up with those days where you don't get that much data, and it can be different from year to year. So you want to make sure the data is concrete. That I can,
Yeah.
which but kind of seems like a bit of a pain because it does take so long.
No, but
Oh,
he could just put on
it's
his rain jacket. He could do it. I'm just teasing.
I didn't hear that. I'm sorry. What
Rain jacket. She said you could just put on your rain jacket, power through it, you'd be all good.
Well,
So
we work a lot in the rain. It's more of the rain causes the river to come up, and at a certain point, it's no longer safe for us to be doing what we're doing. The other aspect of that is a lot of times, especially if you're like using electrofishing, is when it rains, the water, or you get a lot of runoff, the conductivity of the water will drop, and therefore you're not actually effective anymore.
Oh wow.
So there's not enough ions in the water to carry the electricity to actually affect the fish in a way that works. Also, like if it comes up and it gets cloudy and muddy, then you can't see anything anyway. So
with all these different
yeah.
So with all of these different projects and all these different places that you've been, do you have a favorite river?
I do, but it has nothing to do with the river that I've worked on. Like my favorite river is the Current River. It's in Missouri, and that has to do with, it's kind of where my love for rivers began. We used to, when I was a kid, every summer my folks and I and my sister and some other families and stuff would go down there and go on float trips. And that's really where my love of rivers started. So that's why it's my favorite. It's not, I've actually never had a work project on the Current, which is good because most of it is protected by a national scenic riverway. So there's not a lot for me to do necessarily on it as opposed to some of the other stuff in the state. But yeah, so that's my favorite just because of the meaning of how it got me started down this path.
That's really cool.
And today's IG post was your picture of that river.
Yes.
Oh, well, that wasn't my picture. I just found that one. That was just a good picture I found. So I don't have
it was actually going to be one of my questions. Was I knew that you really liked being outdoors, hiking, hunting, fishing, just like being outside whenever you can be. So I was actually going to ask, was it the job that sparked your love of being outdoors, or was it the outdoors that kind of sparked your job?
The outdoors. It was like a lot of that I owe to my folks, to my dad. He would take me fishing, take me hunting as a kid. He kind of installed that love for the outdoors in me when I was young, and then the float trips and everything else that my mom and dad would take me on. And it was very interesting. Like originally, I had thought about being like an engineer, doing something like that. And it really took I took a class when I was like physics. I took physics in high school, and I was like, okay, like I can do the math. I don't like doing the math. I don't like doing this. I would rather be like doing something else. And I did a job shadow with some people at the Department of Conservation, and they took us out and we shot fish. Like we electrofished for the first time, and I was like, now this is cool. And we're on a lake, and so yeah, it was something that was already there, and then just through a series of things I kind of found this path. It's a job that the rewards are that you get to be outside, you get to interact with the resources. You don't make a lot of money doing this. You're never going to be rich. But there's a lot of benefits to that otherwise. So
one of the craziest things that's ever happened to you? Name something crazy.
I wasn't there yet.
I'm getting there.
I had another one planned. Oh my goodness.
Are we going there or are we gonna wait?
Oh, we're going there.
Okay,
we're going
crazy
there.
things. List them off. What's some of the craziest things that's happened?
So craziest thing that, well, gosh, there's probably some other stuff I didn't mention, but one of the craziest things that's ever happened to me is I literally almost hit a deer one time with my boat. So not like driving down the road, the boat's behind the truck, and we almost hit a deer going down the road. No, I'm on the river in the boat, and I almost hit a deer. So basically what happens is, like, and a lot of our rivers are gravel substrate. So you have a lot of the rivers I work in aren't truly 100% boatable, depending on the flow and time of year and that kind of stuff. So we use a lot of jet boats to get around, which, if you don't know what a jet boat is, it's basically a regular John boat, but with a jet motor on the back, so it functions like a jet ski. So it's sucking water in, so you don't have a prop. Yeah, and it allows you to move through water if you're on plane and at speed, really shallow water, without having to stop and drag the boat and that kind of stuff, which you would with a prop. So literally, you can go through like 6-8 inches of water, but you have to do that. You have to be traveling at 20 miles per hour. You got to be on plane. It's one of these, when I first learned to drive a jet boat, which that was not a skill I'd learned as a kid or younger. I'd driven props, that kind of stuff with my dad. But when I had to do that for work, it's this weird thing as you're approaching a riffle and the water gets shallow, you think, oh, I should slow down and ease through this. No, in a jet boat, you floor it. You go faster in order to get through it. So we're doing this, and we're traveling down the river from where our access point is to our site. And there's another boat that's behind us, and it's myself. One of the girls that was working for me at the time as an hourly summer help. She was a college student, just working the summer. So we come around a bend in the river, and there's deer standing in the middle of the river at the riffle. Like, they're like in 8-9 inches of water, and they're standing there. Well, the first two go on across, and I think, okay, I'd kind of let up a little bit just because they were there. But then I see a third one start down the bank, and like I get out of it. But at this point, a boat doesn't. I'm going with the flow. I'm going downriver, so I'm going with the flow, which is actually a good thing because you can kind of drift sometimes like that. But like, I can't stop. And like, luckily she got to the edge of the water and turned and went back. Otherwise, I would have, hit a deer with my boat. And I would have never lived that down at work. So
I'm sure there's probably enough teasing as it is that you came close to hitting a deer.
Oh yeah, everyone was like, "Wait, you did what?" And if I hadn't had a witness, they wouldn't have believed me. So,
dude,
that's awesome.
So, how many different places have you been? Because you like the outdoors, and obviously your job takes you around to multiple different river spots. So, like, how far or how wide of places have you been?
In terms of just for work, or in terms of like just travel?
Like in general, like how far have you been able to travel? Have you been able to go like somewhere kind of like more exotic or cool? Is it all in like one area?
Like, for the most part, like, I have not done nearly as much traveling as I would like. One of the drawbacks of working a job you love that doesn't pay that well is I can't afford to take a lot of trips that I would love to take. But you know, that picture there is obviously at Mount Rainier. Like, I have taken mostly within the US. Usually I take my time and I go visit national parks. I will do that kind of stuff. I mean, I've been out of the continental US to Canada. Is the only like foreign country I've ever been to. But like, in terms of, but I've been Washington, Florida, California, Texas, Minnesota, Canada, I've been to Vermont. I've been not to every. I've been to kind of like every corner of the country.
Colorado?
I've been to Colorado. Yeah.
There we go.
I've been to Colorado a lot of times. That's happened several times. So for work conferences, for play. I mean, I went to Rocky Mountain National Park a couple of times. I've been to several times. I had a conference. What was that? Year and a half ago, maybe almost 2 years ago, and Fort Collins was out there for a week. So yeah, I've been in Colorado.
Very nice.
Like many things, not nearly as much as I would like, Kirk. I don't fish as much. Somebody earlier said you fish every day, and it's like it's one of these weird things. You work outdoors all the time. If you're working out there, you don't actually get out to enjoy it just for yourself as much as you would like. It doesn't seem like, but yeah, when I can, I definitely try to get out and do that kind of stuff.
Very nice. Okay, speaking of traveling, I am going to move aside, and I'm going to let Fire Facts happen here.
Oh, Fire Facts! All right.
Oh, hi. I was just taking a hike through this beautiful place. I've got my river over here. My hair is having a seizure, and that's cool. All right, so let's do Fire Facts. All right. Number 1, JP once captured a 53-inch Barracuda. Number 2, JP attended a World Series Game 7. Number 3, almost all rivers flow at a speed of 7 miles per hour. Now I'm going to go swim.
Well, okay.
Very nice. Thank you, buddy. So, okay, you kind of left that out of your craziest things. A 53-inch Barracuda?
Yeah. So, I've only been like something I would love to do again is I had a conference in Key West of all places. Like everyone gave me a hard time for going to that and at work that we had a conference. This was in like 2016. So I'd never been down there. My dad had never been down there. So after the conference, he came down and we stayed a couple extra days and did a couple fishing trips. And one of the days we actually went after tarpon. And we didn't have very much success with the tarpon, unfortunately. But like we had like barracuda, if you're not a fisherman or don't fish, are notorious for basically trying to steal following the fishing boats and stealing whatever you catch, like coming up and eating it before you get it back to the boat. So we had the guide that we were with, like we were reeling something, and we had I think my dad had caught a little shark, like a small shark, and it's like it's a species that doesn't get very big, but yeah, it was probably
a little nursing shark. Yeah,
and this barracuda followed it to the boat. The guide sees it, and he's like, "I got the answer for him," and he reaches in, and he had live bait in the thing, and he literally throws it into the water behind the boat to hand me the pole because I was still reeling in the pole I've been using. We've been fishing for tarpon, and hands me the pole, and before he hands it to me, the fish is on. Had hit it. It was already on. And so I've fought this barracuda for a thing, and it was a 53-inch barracuda, which is like, I should have like sent you guys a picture of that. I didn't even think about it, but and it was awesome. And the guy was like, people mount like 20-inch barracudas. He's like, this thing's huge. That was huge. So even the fishing guy, I mean, it's not like a record or anything, but it was a really nice fish. And it was funny because, as Rob says, he's more afraid of barracudas. Like, if you see, I could probably pull it up actually, but the picture, like the guy has the head of the barracuda, and I have just the tail in the picture because he wouldn't let me near the head of the barracuda because it like literally like could rip basically my arm off if I wasn't careful because of the teeth. Are so sharp and ridiculous. Like he had like literally steel mesh gloves that went up to like here while he was handling the barracuda. So
Wow.
yeah. So that was, yeah, it was a fun trip. Dad did actually get a tarp into the boat, but then we ended up not getting it in the boat. But yeah, it was a fun trip. Something I'd love to do again at some point. So
Very nice. Well, as it turns out, we've actually filled most of the show with islands. So with our last 5 minutes, I did mention in the beginning that we talk cartoons, and I'm upholding wrong hand. I'm upholding us.
Well, that's what your mom wanted to talk about was cartoons.
Yeah.
brain.
Oh my God, that show's so. So
So
my one cartoon question that I have for you
okay.
is, what is of your favorite cartoons that you used to or still watch?
Oh, favorite that I used to. As a kid, I was a big fan of like the He-Man cartoons when I was a kid. I was a big fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, yes.
I was a big fan of Voltron, which I went back and watched those, and those were awful. God, those did not hold up. I was a little bit older when like Batman the Animated Series came out, but I loved Batman the Animated Series. I love, that's probably the best cartoon, maybe in my opinion, of all time. Like, holds up really well. It's just so good.
Hey, Thundercats comes close second.
Thundercats does not even come close. No,
It
man.
does too.
No. Okay, like Lion.
So Bear was
I have the power.
So Bear mentioned it. Like, I still enjoy animation. Like, I know a lot of people think of animation as being for kids and that kind of stuff. I still enjoy animation. Like, I love, like, recent years, like, I was obsessed with Archer. If you never watched the Archer, which is not for kids, so Rena's probably never watched it and probably shouldn't. Yeah. But Rena, you're probably old enough. You probably shouldn't watch it. But I'm really enjoying the new Harley show. That if you have not watched that on the DC Universe, it is hilarious.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen clips of it.
Yeah, it is hilarious. I'm really enjoying that. Like, literally, Bear and Comic Books NYC Kabi and D-Runk and Kenny Comic Kid 84, we send messages back and forth about that show. So, but the reason for the thumbnail for this video is a show I enjoyed that, like, back in the 90s was, if anybody watched it, if you're the right age, remembers Pinky and the Brain. And it has this really, like, the theme song is one of those things that just, like, once you hear it, it gets stuck in your head and you can't get rid of the dang thing. It's just so annoying.
I actually pulled it to remember what it was, and then I was humming it consecutively for the next hour.
Yeah, it's really, like, once you hear it, it's like hard, you can't get rid of it. So about once every 2 to 3 weeks, like when your mom has sent me a random meme, I will reply with a meme of Pinky and the Brain and go, "You're welcome. That's now stuck in your head for, like, that song is now stuck in your head for, like, and then she curses at me and I laugh. So that's why that is the
that's our joke. Yes.
Yeah, that's our little inside thing.
Rob Narf. Oh my gosh. I actually don't live on any of the modern kids shows.
Yeah.
It's because they all
hate
suck.
all of them.
Yes.
I live for, like, the 1994 shows.
SpongeBob intensifies.
No.
Okay, I will admit I did watch SpongeBob when I was little.
Yes.
But that's just because it was what was on, you know.
Yeah.
But no, I love Thundercats, Batman the Animated Series. We watched a lot of Pinky and the Brain.
Oh gosh, He-Man.
Dude.
He-Man is so cheesy.
He-Man, we actually have,
yeah, like, some of those do not hold up very well. Some of them do, but some of them do not. He-Man doesn't hold up very well, but
it was more a you
Knowing
show.
is half the battle. Yes.
Yeah, Mom will just I'll say, hey, do you you know what is it I say? I'm like, hey, you know what? And she'll be like where to find rubber pants this time of day? And I'll always go, No, we're trying to take over the world.
So,
It's like that's the one thing I remember out of the whole show. I haven't seen
Yeah.
it in forever.
so other things that like from a kid that I love, like Bugs. I watched a ton of Bugs Bunny, Looney Tunes. I watched a ton of Tom and Jerry, a ton of Scooby Doo.
Yep.
You know, all that
Yep.
kind of stuff. All of that was a part of my childhood as well. So yeah,
X-Men was awesome too, Kirk. Yes,
X-Men,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yes.
no.
That was a good one.
Nobody's gonna. nobody knows
Annoying
what that
orange.
is.
No.
But no, yeah, I definitely live for all the older cartoons. So I guess, well, in which case I fit right in. I understand everybody's references. So I mean that's a
There
good
you go.
thing.
All these old people references, you get them. That's good. So,
She's just an old soul.
I am.
Yes.
It's kind of weird. I hate technology. Like you all know, I write books for a living.
yeah.
There is a reason for that. I hate technology.
Which balances out because I'm actually 5.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody can argue that.
Oh yes, the Tick was awesome.
Yes, we actually
Oh,
have
we
the first
love
2
the
seasons
Tick.
of that.
I have
Yep.
a Tick T-shirt still.
Yes, Kirk. No,
Rude.
Teen Titans. Teen Titans
No,
Go
Teen
should not
Titans
exist.
Go, no.
It should not
Teen
exist.
Titans was really good. Teen Titans Go sucks.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, Super Friends. If as long
Okay,
as
that
the
one.
Wonder
That
Twins
one I
weren't
don't
in
know.
it, Roger.
That one
I
I've never
do
seen.
remember. I am old enough to remember the tail end of Super Friends, and yeah. So
I've never seen that one. I still remember Saturday morning cartoons though. I always loved Crypto the Super Dog. That was my favorite show. I would always seek out that one.
Glitter has never seen X-Men? Gasp!
Glitter.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Glitter Eating. It's on the Disney app. It's on the Disney Plus app. You can go watch all of it. It's worth it.
It is awesome. Yes.
So
All right.
Okay, all right. We got to nerd out about our cartoons.
Yay!
We fit it in.
Yeah,
We got it.
that-
Okay.
yeah, since that was what she wanted to make the whole show about was cartoons.
I know,
I could have made it work. I
but
could have made it work.
we were trying to see and Rivers. So, but we got our nerding in at the end.
There you
So,
go.
with that being said, I would like to thank everybody who came. I saw tons of you guys tonight. I think everybody kind of saw the cartoon reference and they were like, "Yes, let's go."
Well,
No, I saw
they must have thought it wasn't
Yes.
me or something. So I want to thank everybody for joining us. It was awesome. So I had a blast.
I hope you had fun.
And JP, thank you so much, dude. Your show was a lot of fun. Thank you for coming on. And I honestly didn't know that a lot of the field research that you guys do even occurs. And
Yeah.
I took marine biology for a year, and I had no idea. Oh, I kicked the dinosaur. Okay. So I mean, I definitely learned a lot. I know that I think I saw Glitter earlier say that we always learn something new, and we have the guests, you guys, to thank for that. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing all of your stories and being happy presents.
Well, thanks for the invite. I had a blast. I don't usually talk about this kind of stuff on my channel because it's about comic books, and I don't really want to bore people with just me. But so
You're not
Oh,
boring at all. Not at all.
This is the creation of this to exploit the things that nobody knows about you guys.
That's right.
so there you go.
So-
So and
Big
but
So thank
I
you
had
all
fun.
so much.
thanks for having me, and thanks everybody for watching. You guys are, the chat makes it
And with
great. I
that-
didn't get to follow it as much as I like because I was trying to answer questions. But
All right.
That's all right. But with that being said, we will see you all later.